thought you were making cheeseburgers.
The money tree hasn't bloomed yet. Sorry, pal. There were going to be more breadcrumbs and mince when you invited more of your mates, so...
What, manky old kebabs?
And chips. If you don't want it...
What are the lads going to think? Ollie's mum did lasagna, dough balls that she made herself, and salad when we went round his.
Joseph, come on, you hate salad, and everyone loves a kebab, even posh boys.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 312 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that's beginning to forget what this show is even about. I'm Sally Lindsay.
What?
I went into... I can't remember why this came up. Oh, I was checking to see if we'd been name-checked in any Metro/Digital Spy article, which I do from time to time. Mm-hmm. And I came up with an AI suggestion of... Do you want to know who the Talk of the Street hosts are? And I said, yes, please. And it replied, at Corrie Podcast, also known as the Talk of the Street, so far so good, is an unofficial podcast that provides a catch-up on Coronation Street. Again, so far so good. The hosts are female and include Sally Lindsay, an actress, producer, television presenter and voiceover artist, and Rebecca Corrie, an actress, writer and comedian who studied at the Second City in Chicago.
I assume I must be Rebecca Corrie then.
I presume that's the American angle.
Yes.
But I feel sorry for Sally Lindsay if she sounds like me. You're right, love.
Are these even real people?
Sally Lindsay has been in the show. She was Shelley. She was the manager of the Rovers. And has gone on to great and wonderful things since leaving the show. Rebecca Corrie, I have no idea.
Yeah, Rebecca Corrie is indeed an American actress and writer.
And comedian.
And comedian who
Studied
began
at-
her career studying at Second City in Chicago.
That's what AI says.
Yeah. She looks nothing like me and is older than I am. She and I both wear glasses, though. That's Rebecca Corrie.
I'm not sure what the age thing's got to do with anything, considering that it thinks that I'm Sally Lindsay.
She's also shorter than I am. How is that even possible for a human being to be shorter than I am? But yes. I am amused by the fact that it thinks that both of us are female.
Maybe AI just calms the fuck down a little bit before continuing to take over the world. Well, that's all I'm saying.
Yes, I suppose. Oh, and I'm Rebecca Corrie, apparently.
There you go. How are you this week?
I am relaxed and refreshed.
Yeah, we
And
had a little break.
we did. Yes. We went to Philadelphia, and you and Stelly impersonated Rocky.
Stelly impersonated Rocky.
Well, you did this at the top.
Helen
So
was
that's
motioning
something.
like someone who's trying to hold a ceiling up.
Yes. Yes, my mom was like, what about Gavin? And I was like, you really expect Gavin to run upstairs in 90-degree heat?
I could have done the final flight or two. I
Right.
certainly couldn't have done the whole lot of it. There wasn't that many, though. I was surprised that Stella was able to run up them without losing her breath, really.
No.
But she's young.
Yes.
And she hadn't run all the way through Philadelphia either before
Right.
she did it.
Yes. Yes. And she's also a tennis player, so
But it's-
she's fairly athletic.
Two things about that. It's remarkable that out of all the people who were in Philadelphia that day, it seems all of them descended on the Philadelphia Art Museum
Stairs.
to record themselves jumping up a la Rocky
Yeah.
at the top where there are little bronze feet.
Yes.
These are the Rocky steps.
Yes.
Nobody's there for the art museum. Although when we were there, it was closed.
It was shut.
But I can't imagine
It's
we'd
shut
be the
on a
only
Wednesday.
people that would not know that. But anyway, But what really surprised me was there are more steps further back at the art museum. So it's like Rocky jumping up and down where he jumped
Right.
is ignoring the other
Yeah.
40 steps that are still to go.
Yeah.
I feel a little less impressed by Sylvester Stallone because of that.
You have to run a little bit further across, and there was probably stuff hanging from the entrance of the art museum that they didn't want in the movie.
If only there was a way to prove that.
Yeah. And also, he'd already run all the way across Philadelphia.
So an extra 300 yards isn't going to kill him. Or maybe it would have.
Yeah, maybe
Anyway.
it would have. Anyway, yes. Yes, the art museum was shut. And the Edgar Allan Poe house was shut on a Wednesday, which was very disappointing. However, what was open was one of my bucket list locations to visit before I die. So I was very excited.
You can go back to it afterwards.
We got to go to the Mutter Museum, which is at the College of Physicians in Philadelphia, and is where you can see slices of Einstein's brain on slides and the part of their lungs in which twins Chang and Eng were attached, and lots of other pieces of dead people.
As we were walking towards this museum, and I asked Helen, what is this museum about? Oh, it's just got skeletons in it. I was like, well, I can handle a skeleton. I'm maybe not interested in a whole museum full of skeletons, but that wasn't really what the museum was about.
There were a lot of skeletons there. There's a whole wall of skulls.
I wouldn't say there was a lot of them. And it was mostly deformities and medical maladies, which I'm not really interested in looking at.
Yeah, I am.
So, but I had good Wi-Fi reception there, so, you know.
So you're able to distract yourself from horrifying things.
Yes.
Yes. It's very, very interesting, and I think it's very, very interesting to me, and I really appreciate it because you can't take photographs in there. They're very respectful of their exhibits, you know, and reminding you that these are real people or parts of real people. So be respectful of them, which I think is very nice. And there's a nice part of the exhibit which, you know, points out that by today's standards, quite a bit of this probably wouldn't have been collected because a lot of this was collected in ways that we would look askew at in 2024. So it's nice that they sort of acknowledge that. And then we went to Connecticut and saw family, got rid of a big, massive ship that we drove from Michigan to Connecticut. And then we went to New Hampshire. And then we went to Rochester, New York, and saw the George Eastman house. And that was really cool, wasn't it?
And while we were wandering through the George Eastman / Kodak Museum, I got a message from someone at an ITV production company wanting us to appear on a Saturday night quiz about Corrie. And we went, huh?
Only if you're flying us over.
Oh, how jaded we've become that the request from an ITV production company to take part in a new Saturday night TV show on ITV didn't get much more than a
Well, I think
out of us.
I think personally for me, it's because I know they're not going to fly us over, so it's not something that's ever going to happen.
But it's nice to be asked.
It is nice to be asked.
And we put them on to alternatives.
Yes. So you're welcome, alternatives, if they give you a call.
Yeah.
You know who sent them. It was us. While walking through the George Eastman house. And
I occasionally farted. And then pooped in his house. That might be one of the strangest places that I've pooped. And the guy who owned Kodak's house.
Yeah, who started Kodak. Mm-hmm. Who invented many of the things that Kodak does. You farted in the camera obscura.
That was a cue that I needed to poop.
And so I have this picture of you where your head's gone and your limbs are gone because you were farting.
That doesn't normally happen when I fart. But yeah,
Only in a dark place.
Anytime I see the Kodak logo now, I'm going to think, I've shat in his house.
In the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Clearly, I'm not an animal.
In the toilet. You didn't go behind some of the bushes in the garden and just
No, I did
drop
that
trout.
at the Newton Museum. And then we passed through Canada, and it was delightful as ever.
Yes, I got to I got to eat a big mahusive Yorkshire pudding
It was gigantic.
for my lunch, which was delightful because the day before, driving through upstate New York in the mountains, we passed by this place that claimed to be an English pub, and we stopped for dinner, and besides fish and chips, nothing was
No.
British on that menu.
No, they had soccer tops from various British clubs,
Right, hanging from the wall.
but that was about as British as it got.
And they had some British beer. But
Did they?
yeah,
I think they had American versions of British beer,
well,
like mild and bitter and stuff, but I don't think they were British. I didn't recognise anything.
and there was a very nice German non-alcoholic beer, which is what I had with my supposedly Yorkshire beef stew, which was
It was a beef soup.
not
It was
nearly
beef and vegetable soup.
right, which is not nearly as Yorkshire as that pudding was
No.
the next day. So,
Oh well, we are now back,
oh, Canada.
rested, and now obviously exhausted.
Yes. So it was nice that Coronation Street decided to only have 2 episodes this week.
Yes. And on that bombshell, shall we preamble, my dear? I was going to say Diablo, I think. I'm not
Shall
sure.
we Diablo, my dear?
Shall we Diablo, my dear?
Shall we be devils?
Give us some of that devilish Corrie news.
Congrats to Jack P. Shepherd on
Huzzah!
his engagement to Honey Trewick. The couple met on the show 6 years ago when Trewick was a scriptwriter, and they got engaged on their trip to Africa, which they went to lots of different places in Africa, so I can say they went to Africa.
Yeah, I was about to pull you up on that. Maybe you saw the glint in my eye that had an opportunity to berate you for.
Well, this is something that I usually berate
Which is
people
exactly
in
why I was
media
going-
for
Yes.
just making a blanket Africa
Yes.
statement. So, yeah, congrats to them. Well
Congratulations indeed.
done. Well done, Jack. You're punching above your weight.
And well done, Hannah, for making an honest man out of him.
After a year of missing her, it appears that Lorna Laidlaw has indeed quit the show, as she's due to appear in the new drama, The Good Ship Murder, on Channel 5. So, all congratulations to her. It films in Malta, so that's a nice pull right there. Mm-hmm. And we're just relieved that she's okay, because we were concerned that maybe there were some health issues that had gotten in the way of filming, but that doesn't appear to be the case, at least not at this time.
It's good for her. I understand there are other Corrie alum in the...
Claire Sweeney's going to be in it.
Oh, so the current... Her tenure on the show has been very bizarre. She arrived and then she immediately left. And then
Right.
she came back and now she's doing this thing. So, I don't know.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah, just glad that Lorna's okay.
yes.
And a further reminder of how disappointed we are that she left. And
Yeah. But at least
kinda
we get to
curious
watch her in something
circumstances.
else.
Yes.
Just like rewatching her episodes on Doctors. Something that we can do anytime we are missing her. And finally, sharpen those pitchforks as the show continues to be mucked about by the sport. Depending upon what article you read and what your source is and when the article was published, Corrie may or may not be on Monday
Or Tuesday.
at 9 p.m. I haven't seen a single thing that has said Tuesday, except for Corrie.net says Monday or Tuesday, which doesn't make any sense. The latest article from Metro says Monday at 9 p.m. That's kind of what I am going by. But there are other articles that say otherwise that were published before. So take it as you will. Get on there on Monday at 9 p.m. And if it's not on, say, and turn it off. It will definitely be on Wednesday, and it will definitely not be on Friday.
Right.
So, that's Corrie News.
So I was going to say, if there is only one episode next week, in a brazen attempt to harvest content, I thought it might be a decent idea to do some kind of Q&A where our listening several, that's you, could maybe write in with a question, or maybe they're interested in how we start a podcast, or how anyone starts a podcast, or if they're curious to know which of the Corrie characters we'd like to have a drink with, or who do we think would win in a fight to the death between Daniel and Craig.
Or if you have auction talk questions.
Well, we've done auction talk this week.
No auction talk this week.
Because you weren't auction talking.
No.
Yeah, and a kind of ask us anything type way. Send us your questions that you have about the podcast, Corrie, or anything else, and we'll do our best to answer. thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com. Get them in by 6 p.m. Eastern on Friday. And if no one sends anything in, well, we can always fall back on children's TV show theme tunes, can't we, Helen?
We can. We've got a lot left. We still haven't done Wishbone.
And if it is 2 episodes,
We can still do it.
we can still do it. We'll just maybe talk faster. Okay. Excellent. Well, I'm glad we got through that. That was a bit of a rough road.
It was.
But you know what? We're now into the plain sailing of the feedback section that I like to call Everyone's a Critic. Daisy writes, another wonderful episode from you both. Talking about last week, obviously.
Yes.
I was going to write in about Chesney's burger business, so I'm glad that got added to Wendy's list. Can we just go back to the glitch of Paul's brand new technology to say those things about Felix? Surely they wouldn't have that happen when someone would rely on this machine to communicate, which I think was your point, wasn't it?
Yes.
Felix is such a douche. And where is he from?
Nobody knows.
He is British.
Is
I've been
he?
able to confirm that, yeah. Or the actor is, anyway.
Well, what is he doing with his accent then? Because that's not a British accent.
I think they've just told him to just go with his heart. The poverty porn is relentless. When will it end? How is anyone else surviving on the street with their salaries and being at the bistro every week? I don't understand the disparity. A spreadsheet on this would be great, Gav. One thing I wanted to mention is that someone on Reddit calls Yasmin Yaz Queen, and I had to send that to you. Thank you so much, because now she is Yaz Queen. Best wishes and love and coffee and ginger ale and spicy coke from Pissing It Down in Glasgow, Daisy. Thank you very much, Daisy. And funny you should mention a spreadsheet, because this wasn't explicitly written to us, but Sharon Emo on Twitter, who we spoke about last week, she had ideas about the universal credit and stuff that
Right.
Chesney and Gemma would be looking at. So they put together a meticulous thread on Twitter where they put the income and outgoings of the Winter Browns down, making certain assumptions to maximise their benefits, and based on those calculations, it initially looked like they have about $5,000 a month coming in and about 4,700 a month going out.
How are they only getting $5,000 coming in with 2 people working 3 jobs?
Well, they have to make sure they don't work too many hours, or it impacts the benefits that they get.
Do we know they get benefits?
Well, they should do.
Right.
Whether they are or not, it's a different matter.
Right.
There was some ambiguity around about some of the assumptions that Sharon Emo made. Maybe the rent was a little too high and maybe the benefits would be a little bit more, but still, that looked like they were going to be clear by about maybe £600 a month. Which, if there are some emergencies, that could be a little tight, I guess.
It could be very tight.
So,
Isn't there
things like holidays and savings become
impossible?
kinda.
Is there no minimum wage in the United
I
Kingdom?
don't think there is.
There's no minimum wage.
I don't think so. Maybe there is since I left. Oh, there's a national living wage. That's not the same thing.
No.
The national minimum wage in 2024 is a 13-page document.
So there are no easy answers.
Although this document from gov.uk from the British government does say that Coronation Street is on Monday, so I don't know if we can take that as read now. Oh, here we are. 11.44.
£11.44. Mm-hmm. Huh. Gemma works in the pub.
Very occasionally now.
And does she work in the kebab shop anymore?
No. But let's say she gets a few hours at the pub. Yeah, £5,000 isn't. £5,000 a month I don't think is all that unreasonable.
Anyway, yeah. Stop the poverty porn, I think, is our point.
But also, thank you to Sharonemo55 on Twitter. Well worth a follow for threads on Coronation Street and politics.
Yeah. Join Blue Sky, please.
Then Cheeky writes, first and foremost, Dolly Rose Campbell gave the performance of her life this week. I've never seen Gemma in a more broken state. Not making enough money is a topic I'm very familiar with because there were periods of my life when I wasn't making enough money to survive. I never got to the point where I was homeless, but as a person with a disability, the cost of living can be immense.
Yes.
Regarding Sabrina's friend, I am of the opinion that she reminds me very much of Kelly the Chin, but also I very much think that she's a daughter of a certain detective. How else is it possible that she knows what a scumbag looks like? That's because her mother has arrested plenty of them. Yes, very much so. And then Sharon writes, hiya, Alec and Bet. You didn't have a very big mailbag last week as nobody could even remember what happened as it was so dull. Hopefully your sack will be bulging this week. I love it when Helen is yawning in the background. Poor Gavin, is she so bored of you? Yes, absolutely.
It's not you that I'm bored of. It's the show.
I thought Dee Dee looked like a Bond girl and Joel is the villain. Will Toya be pregnant with Nasty Nick's baby? Yeah, that crossed my mind. That crossed my mind.
Aw, is Nick nasty? I don't think Nick's nasty. He cries too much to be nasty.
I think it's a reference to Nasty Nick from the first Big Brother in the UK.
Ah.
He's nasty because he wrote notes down on a piece of paper.
Yes, that is something that nasty people do.
Another thing to add to Wendy's list, I thought they had forgotten that Kit Kat is Bernie's long-lost son. That hasn't been anywhere near as long enough.
No.
We need a little bit more time in between the things.
Yes.
But I dare say we will add it at some point in the future. And that he helped Gemma out, although Craig nearly ruined that. Oh my God, Swain's daughter is not going to be Joel's next victim. Could have knocked me down with a feather. Anyhow.
I don't think she's going to be a victim.
No, nor do I. Let's get back to normal with the schedule. Keep up the banter. It's my highlight of the week from Sharon. She's British, not racist.
Highlight of the week.
Feedback is always welcome. Send us your thoughts and I will probably read them out. Get us at thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com where our DMs are open. At Corrie Podcast, please note that we reserve the right to edit feedback, but only in the interests of brevity. And now we'll podcast for coffee. We're literally drinking our own coffees this week.
We are actually drinking coffee because it's Saturday morning.
It's one of those Saturday morning podcasts that are so odd.
And I'm only kind of awake and I'm still in my jammies.
The Talk of the Street is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes. But if you think a show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, and if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/The Talk of the Street. And you can also sign up to be a friend of the podcast through the same link, where for as little as $2 a month, you can get a mention in the closing credits of each and every episode. And we now have a Patreon site where you can also show us some love and sign up to be a friend of the podcast at patreon.com/The Talk of the Street. But remember, you can always support the podcast for free. Get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts. Oh,
that's a lot.
Shall we dive into our shortened week?
Yes, please.
Okay. Our first storyline this week is Videodrone. On Monday, Tyrone is giving Kev a hard time for breaking into ITV Stefan's office, but Kev thinks it's all worth it because it's worked out because ITV Stefan inexplicably has agreed to pay $60,000 a year to keep Abby's fake porn off the internet. Talking of which, ITV Stefan wants to meet up later with Kev. What could that possibly be about? I'm sure it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
But it's not fine because the deal is off because ITV Stefan's got his calculator out and has worked out how much this is going to cost him. So Kev punches him.
Right in the face. And yet still, And yet still, we only have ITV Stefan opening doors for other people. We still do not have him dramatically entering rooms himself.
No.
I am so annoyed by this.
He does laugh maniacally, though.
He does.
Does that count? That counts for something.
Yeah, but it's not as cool.
No. Let's add assault to the charge sheet, and he throws Kev out. Meanwhile, Abby's at the garage wondering where Kev's got to and looking to retrieve the deleted email. But from last week, this was the email showing Kev breaking into ITV Stefan's office, which Abby doesn't know about. Tyrone is busy playing computer games and tells her to fuck off. So she goes home and finds Kev nursing swollen knuckles with frozen veg, and he comes clean. Abby isn't impressed by Kev's attempts of white knighting. He's made matters worse, and the stolen phone doesn't help. She accuses him of trying to fix everything, and he says that she needs it. So she storms out, and he shouts that this is typical fucking Abby. She goes to see ITV Stefan, and they come to an agreement. ITV Stefan won't report Kev and knock the whole video thing on the head if she keeps his phone away from the cops. She calls him a pathetic old man with a monster for a son, and leaves him to his day. And back home, Abby is happy to move on, but she flinches from Kev's touch and then goes for a lie down.
Yes.
Kev white knighting Abby?
What? Never. Shocked.
I'm absolutely shocked.
Absolutely. And Kev not understanding why this would make Abby upset?
But I punched him.
Yeah. Which was the wrong thing to do.
It looked like he was going to punch him again. The frustrating thing about Kev, or one of the frustrating things about Kev, is remember just a few weeks ago when the deep porn stuff came out, he said, and I quote, "This is a new low for you."
Yeah.
And now he's seen himself as this fixer guy. Well, if he is a fixer guy, he's not doing a very good job of it.
No, not at all.
I guess the relationship that he has with Abby, I think, is very different from the relationship Abby has with him.
Yes. I you know what? I think that is a very astute observation.
Boy, thank you.
You're welcome.
We've been doing this for 6 years. Let's mark the date and time.
Yeah, because I don't know. He still sees Abby as fragile.
And a little bit of a project.
Yeah. Whereas she also sees him as a project because he's grubby and disgusting.
Well, she's kind of grubby and disgusting as well.
She's not as grubby. She always has her nails done.
She does.
They're in a relationship, but they're both in different relationships with one another. I think that's very true.
When she does things wanting to change him, it feels kind of light-hearted. It's about dad jokes, and it's about not being up to date with what movie's out and things like that.
Right.
When he wants to change her, it's fundamental aspects of her personality.
Right, yes.
And those are different things.
And also, make sure she never falls off the wagon, which is the exact type of behavior which makes addicts fall off the wagon. Mm-hmm. So he's not very good at being in a relationship.
He is, however, very good at shouting, "Abby!" On Friday, at the garage, Kev and Tyrone are chatting about a guy who tastes tea for a living. Tyrone just can't get his mind around this.
Yes, that does sound like a lovely job, though, doesn't it?
And then the subject moves to, I bet you there's some honking tea that you have to drink.
Right, yeah. And after a while, it would lose its luster.
I'm surprised if you were to work for Tetley, for example, if they let you drink any other tea, I bet you they wouldn't. Because you would have to be able to tell if a batch of tea bags is off by comparing it to what you know Tetley to taste like.
Yeah.
So the subject moves on to Abby. Kev has slept on the couch last night and admits to Tyrone that he was a bit out of line. It's good that he admits to Tyrone that he was a bit out of line.
Yes.
Tyrone advises apologising to her. Words of wisdom. So Kev goes home to make Abby his signature meal, meat with bread. But Abby has packed her bags. Kev shits himself. Abby's not leaving him, but is off to spend time with Lindsay and the twins, Lefty and Righty. Turns out it was chickenpox after all, and this rando hadn't seen Abby's fake floof on the internet. So, on that note, smell you later, and Abby fucks off. In the pub, Oprah Dobbs thinks that a break is just what Abby needs.
Yes.
And that's as far as we get with that this week.
I don't know. I think we all know how I feel about Kev.
Well, from what you said mere minutes ago, yes.
Yeah. So, and I've never been a fan of this relationship because of the stuff that we have discussed, because it feels very one-sided from both sides. There seems to be an awful lot of codependency involved, especially on the part of the person in the relationship who's not an addict. You know, there very much seems to be part of the attraction of Abby for Kev is that he has the ability to white knight, and this makes him feel more like a man. However, it also gives him a chance to say really awful things to her occasionally.
Abby's got daddy issues.
Does she?
It would seem so. Because Kev is that role. Kev very much treats her like a child.
Yeah, but she hates that.
Yeah, children hate it though. She doesn't rebel against it. She doesn't leave. She doesn't tell him.
She very much does. She just did.
Yeah, but she hasn't left him.
She's taking a break though, and she's making it very clear.
She's going to see the twins.
Right.
But she's making it out like she's not leaving them. She said that she's not leaving them.
Right.
She is leaving them, but she's saying that she's not leaving them.
Right.
But if she was really leaving them, she'd have packed that bag a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think there's part of Abby that needs that.
Do we know anything about Abby's
I don't think so.
parents?
I don't even know if they're alive or dead. And if that's the case, we can maybe expect to see one or both of them at some point in the future.
Yeah. Anyway.
There was a few people on Twitter I saw this week that said that Abby has far better chemistry with ITV Stefan than she ever did with Kev.
You know what? I was thinking the same thing when she went in there, you know. And
I mean, it's never going to happen.
No. But the banter between the two, there is a level of respect there.
Yes, I agree.
That there is not.
And an equality as well.
That there is not with Kev, you know, for either one of them. Mm-hmm. ITV Stefan does not respect Kev, and nor should he.
No.
But he does respect Abby.
Yes, and I think he enjoys the jousting between them.
Game recognizes game there.
And I think, yeah, exactly. And she's the same.
Yeah. He knows she's smart.
Yeah. I would be amazed if the two of them didn't have slight tingles in their special places after that confrontation had finished and they'd partied.
That would be interesting, though, wouldn't it? Abby falling for her son's killer's father. That would be very soap opera.
Now, they've handled it, well, yeah, very American soap opera and very Australian soap opera. And maybe very British soap opera. Maybe. He has lost a son as well. Well, arguably. He's reacting to it very differently.
He'll get that son back, though, and he can visit that son anytime he wants. Mm. That's not really losing. That's not really a death.
I think there's a slight correlation between the two things, but anyway, it's never going to happen until it happens.
Right, yes. We have put the worm in the brain. Hopefully.
Beautifully put.
Yes.
Let's move on to the next storyline, which is Tommy OMFG. Again, the power that Tommy O has.
Even though he hasn't been on the show in months.
And isn't in it this week, but yet the looming figure of Rick the Chin's brother in real life just spreads across this storyline, doesn't it?
His essence looms.
That blue Stratos aftershave. Mm. On Monday, Steve is talking about his upcoming birthday, which Amy informs him is the same day as Tommy O's statue unveiling. And that's all you need to know about this. Steve's birthday is the same day as the statue unveiling, or the bust unveiling.
It's just a bust.
But apparently Tommy O and Tracy are going to come home for it. Meanwhile, Sally's at the cab office looking for her hole when Steve comes in to complain about the unveiling. Tim wants to talk about Steve's 50th, and is hoping for more than the rovers and darts. He encourages Steve to aim high. But later, Sally's been invited to the bust unveiling because she's the ex-mayor. But Tim can't go because it's Steve's birthday, so Sally makes an ultimatum because she can't go to the unveiling on her own for some reason. Tim chooses Sally, and Steve pretends to be gutted, but he's reckoning that Tim is actually arranging a surprise.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And he doesn't know that Tim has chosen Sally.
No.
He thinks that Tim has made a lame excuse to surprise him. But he has made a lame excuse
medical
so that he can go,
and dental work getting done on the same day.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Just a lame excuse.
Yes, that sentence wasn't very clear. But we now know the main aspects of this storyline. The birthday's happening on the unveiling, and Steve thinks that there's going to be a surprise party. I mean, this story just writes itself, doesn't
Pretty
it?
much.
On Friday, Steve is absolutely certain that Tim and Sally are plotting a surprise birthday party for him, something that is only cemented when Sally comes into the cab office to talk about going to get a new jacket to match a new dress. Tim quickly hurries her away, and Mary seems to be the only person in the world that's missing Tracy. Steve goes to get a new shirt, which is fucking honking, and then learns from Amy that Tracy won't be coming back after all because the weather, wherever she is, has picked up. Now Steve is thinking that he might take that shirt back until Amy stops him, realising that he bought it to impress Tracy.
It doesn't fit him. It's slightly too small.
It is a bit. But you know, it's a complaint that I myself have had recently.
Yeah.
When you go to get a new shirt,
Yeah.
they're all this no tuck nonsense.
Uh-huh.
I don't want no tuck. Because if it's no tuck, when I stretch and put my arms out, my belly gets exposed. And I don't want that to happen. I especially don't want that to happen at work. I want tuck. I want a tuck shirt. They're not easy to find.
Just wear a t-shirt underneath your shirt. Because then your belly won't be exposed when you reach up.
Where was this?
Or buy
Clear thinking the last time I was buying a shirt?
Or buy a no-tuck shirt in a size up.
I've tried that.
It doesn't work?
It still doesn't work.
Huh.
I need to get rid of this belly. That's what the main problem is. After her shopping spree, Sally's disappointed to learn that Tim intends to wear a football shirt to the unveiling because it's a footballer's unveiling. Why wouldn't he wear a football shirt? And then she's further depressed to learn that Beth and Kirk are going to be there because Kirk is Buzz of the Bee.
Right, yeah. Of course they'll be there. She seems to think that it's going to be really exclusive. Mm-hmm. It's not.
Because you're going, Sally. Talking of Beth and Kirk, they go into the pub and see Steve and tell him about Tommy O's unveiling. Steve says he will not be there. He has a surprise party to attend. And that's as far as we get with that this week. So the party is the next episode, whenever that is.
Yeah. And Beth and Kirk realize that Steve doesn't know that Tim is actually going to this thing. And so this birthday party that Steve thinks Tim is arranging isn't going to happen.
Mm.
I think Amy and Addie have something planned for him, though.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it kind of seemed that way.
I think it's also within the realm of possibility that Amy's planning nothing. Because as Steve points out, she's a busy wee bee.
She is.
She's got so many jobs at the moment. This is why Ches and Gemma are so poor.
Yeah, because Amy's taking all the jobs.
Right.
They took their gerbs.
Thank you. It is very much a Coronation Street 101 story, though, isn't it?
It's very farcical.
But the only thing that is causing me a little bit of concern is the fact that Tracy's not coming back after all.
Yeah.
Because I thought, oh, well, here we go, right? Tracy's coming back for the unveiling of this bust. She's going to see Steve again. It'll be in his lovely, a little too short shirt. And she's going to melt. And she and Steve will get back together again. And that doesn't look like that's going to happen. But not
Thank
only does
God.
it look like it's not going to happen,
Why would you want it to happen?
it's starting to look like Tracy really has left.
Yes.
Kate Ford, that shitty ending that she got, although she got 2 of them,
Right.
that's it?
That's it. Yeah,
Really?
maybe. I think maybe she might come back eventually, but not yet.
It's been a while. She's been off for a while. Feels like a couple of months at least.
But you know what? A lot of people are off for a while. Like Sally Ann Matthews, like, freaked people out because she's like, oh, I'm taking a wee break. And people are like, oh, no, she's never coming back. And she's like, no, I am coming back. Just not right now because the show has given me very little to do lately. So, and I have all this time off. So I'm going to take some of my time off.
She did make it sound like it was questionable whether she was going to be back or not.
Well,
And maybe it was just a little bit of off-the-cuff writing
right.
that was misinterpreted or interpreted in a certain direction, but she
I
didn't.
think-
She didn't help matters by what she said.
I think there's a bit of a veiled nudge to the show about the fact that they aren't writing an awful lot for her right now, and maybe they need to get off their ass and write some stuff for her.
Well, also that they are saving money and cutting corners and
Right, yeah.
letting people go. Who knows how far that's going to go? I would be amazed if
They're not going to let Jenny go.
isn't going to be the
landlady
or the
because
Rovers
of all
going
of
forward.
the crap that went into making her the
Right.
landlady again, where her morals are completely gutted.
I'm almost tempted to write something along those lines down on Wendy's list, though. Because now that Daisy's back there, it feels like that whole thing has been just really a way for Carla to get the factory back somehow.
And she also now owns the pub.
Right. Okay, let's move on to Meet the Parents. On Monday, Dee Dee is getting Ed spruced up for their meeting with Joel's parents, but then Joel comes home early and wants to go to lunch, and Dee Dee has to chase him, maintaining the secret. Dee Dee and Ed both scrub up pretty well as they meet Joel's parents at the bistro. The mother is very apologetic for how it went the last time, not apologetic enough to reach out themselves to make amends, of
Right.
course. She always held out hope that Joel would get back with Emily for Maeve's benefit. And I'm like, all right.
So
that
Maeve
kid
exists.
That kid definitely exists.
Maeve exists.
Probably.
Yes.
She didn't say that she'd seen Maeve.
Right.
One would assume so.
Right.
Right.
If she knows who Maeve is, there's, yeah.
She complains about a rather strained relationship with Joel, and then Amy comes over and blows the gaff. Oh, are you excited about the engagement party?
Shut up, Amy.
The parents are fuming about this, about being left out of decisions, and they call Dee Dee possessive. It was quite funny, though, when Amy came back in a following scene with some wine.
Uh-huh.
Was it wine or was it dessert?
I
think it was
don't remember.
dessert. And said, my dad always says that
Chocolate.
chocolate helps everything, especially when people are rowing. And then she just
Right.
wanders off. So Ed says if Joel is keeping his distance from them, then that's their problem and maybe they should talk to him about it. What a fantastic point. Meanwhile, Joel accidentally but not really meets Sabrina in the precinct and offers to Irish up her coffee. Aye. The two of them flirt a little bit and it's disgusting.
And confusing. Because Sabrina's still
Yes.
with Max. Why would
No,
she?
she split up with Max.
Did she?
Because they accused her, they being Max and Bobby, accused her of knowing something about racist Kelly. So Sabrina said, you know what, I'm done with you. And that was the last that we saw of her. Now, she said that before and they ended up getting back together again, but I
Right.
think the getting back together bit hasn't happened yet.
No.
But where I thought you were going with this was Sabrina is the street smart kid
Right.
who knows how everything works.
Yeah.
And has fallen for this douchebag.
Right. I don't think she. There's a part of me that thinks, that she's just using him as much as he's, well, not as much as he's using her or wants to use her. Well, but she's just like, oh, creepy dude is offering me a little bit of booze. I'll take it because
And
it's
he's
free.
rich because he's a lawyer.
That's not how that works.
Later, Sabrina's wee blonde pal is with Sabrina talking about the creepy lawyer who just spiked a drink. The pal's advice is to stay clear, but she keeps his business card for herself.
Right, yeah, she makes as if to throw it away and
Yeah,
then
she's
just kind of
sleight
slips
of
it in
hand
her.
there. Something that Paul
sleeve.
Daniels or David Copperfield perhaps would have been proud of.
Right. Or Jesse Eisenberg in those movies.
Oh, God. The try so hard to make magicians cool. It doesn't work, Jesse. Or Woody. Let's move on. 2 movies they made out of that fucking premise, honest to God.
I think they're making a third.
Oh, no! No! Back at the flat, Joel's parents turn up to apologise. She explains that Joel has a habit of closing them out and assumed this was because of Dee Dee. They know this isn't the case and just ask not to be left out in future, and they'd love to come to the surprise engagement meal. Later, on the street, the wee blonde pal approaches Joel and threatens to grass him up for spiking a teenager's drink unless he coughs up some cash. Joel tells her to fuck off.
He does it in a way that you're like, oh, he is going to eventually pay her off.
And also, the wee blonde girl is exactly the type in the Racist Kelly mould
Right.
of exploitable girls. I think so, yeah. So I think he's saying one thing, but is kind of cautious to maybe leave the door open a little bit, which he does again on Friday.
Yes.
So on Friday, Dee Dee is still playing it cool about the engagement party, but arranges to meet Joel for lunch in the bistro. Meanwhile, Sabrina's mate, who is credited in the show as Sabrina's mate, and that was my clue that she's somebody.
Right, yeah.
They're just not naming her yet.
I mean, you knew already, right?
Yeah, a random blonde girl just appears.
Right, yeah, and is street smart and cocky and no nonsense, just like her mum.
Meanwhile, Sabrina's mate is in Nina's Rose taking selfies and looking very cool and calm with herself. At the bistro later, Joel is amazed that they managed to get his parents along. The surprise isn't much of a surprise. He just kind of wanders in and is like, oh, okay, there's my parents.
Right, yeah.
And he's very amazed that Ronnie and his arms are looking so sweet.
Yes.
Despite the party, Joel claims that he needs to leave early for a client, but Dee Dee talks him round, what with his fucking parents being there. This doesn't stop him nipping out outside to text Sabrina's mate to tell her to fuck off again. His dad comes out and wishes Joel had told him about the engagement himself, and then he drags him back inside. Sabrina's mate sees all this from around the corner and continues to badger Joel for money. Inside, after Joel's dad's made a shit speech, Sabrina's mate comes along and she comes into the bistro.
Yes, she does.
Joel hurries over and loudly promises to speak to her tomorrow, and when she leaves, Dee Dee realises, this was the client that Joel was speaking about, and gives her blessing for him to go out and deal with that quickly, which he does. So outside, he tries to be the big scary lawyer, but Sabrina's mate isn't easily scared and demands money out of him, or she'll blab about and spiking Sabrina's coffee. He gives her a tenner and tells her to fuck off, oddly saying that he'll speak to her later. Why would he speak to her later? Everyone at the table is singing Joel's praises for helping the small people, like that wee blonde lassie who was in earlier. Bless you.
Thank you.
Joel comes back in and downs half a bottle of Plonk in a winner, and no one thinks this is odd. And I swear to God, I got the fear that he was going to do that Hannibal Lecter thing again.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he didn't.
No.
In the precinct, Sabrina's mate gets a text from Joel promising more money if she stays out of his life.
Swain.
And at this, DS Swain arrives and tells Sabrina's mate to get in the car. They're going home because Sabrina's mate
It's Betsy.
is Betsy.
Swain.
And that's as far as we get with that this
She
week.
is Betsy Swain.
What a great, I mean, we kind of
We
figured
knew.
it out,
Yeah.
but what a great way to deliver
Yeah.
that little twist.
And see, here's the thing. Now, because she went into the bistro, Dee Dee has seen her.
Yes.
And Dee Dee will probably see her with Swain at some point because Dee Dee is a lawyer and because Betsy is going to be working at the factory. So 2 and 2 is going to be put together here. Wait a second. Why would Swain stop? And she will ask Swain, why does your daughter need legal representation from Joel? And it will all fall apart eventually, hopefully.
Joel is going to try and groom the daughter of
A cop.
a detective sergeant in Weatherfield Police.
And it's not going to work.
One would hope not. And I think everything that we know about Betsy at the moment, which isn't an awful lot, to be fair,
Right.
is that she always maybe she just thinks that she is, but she seems to be as well. Just kind of one step ahead of everybody else in
Right.
this. She's
Yeah.
ahead of Sabrina in this.
Yeah.
She kept the card, which was maybe a little bit of naivety, but
Well, no, because
It's
she's
just a
like,
sign
I
for
am
getting some
going to,
cash.
yeah, I'm going to rumble this guy. Mm-hmm. And I can do that because my mom's a cop.
and Joel doesn't know how close he's dancing with the devil here.
Right, yeah, that she's Swain's daughter.
So as long as he doesn't know that, he's potentially going to put himself in quite a bit of jeopardy
Right.
of getting found out,
Yeah,
which would be unusual for the show to deal with us so quickly.
right, but we don't know how quickly. I am a little disappointed that it's not Hope that's taking him down.
Sure.
And I hope that Hope is involved in some way eventually. Because let's not forget, she found the necklace.
Yeah, she's been we've been wanting Hope to be at the centre of some very adult storyline for some time.
Yeah. And it's not going to be Bethany, which is good. Because is that believable? I don't think so.
What?
For Bethany to be the next victim of Joel.
Oh no, that's not.
I don't think she's
too old.
Right. Well, there's that. You know, even though he did do the Hannibal Lecter thing over. Stop! Just don't do it. You don't have to do it. You know what I'm talking about. You don't have to do it again. Are you still punishing me about the Mutter Museum?
Yeah, and that'll continue.
Well, you know what will not continue then. So yeah, I'm glad we have Betsy now. She seems a bit younger than I expected.
I think she just looks very young.
Yeah.
But that's, I think, why she's been chosen to be Betsy.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult to see that kid working at the factory.
Yeah.
Or working on an apprenticeship at the factory. Because she
Right.
seems like a couple of years too young for it.
Yeah.
Which is exactly why Joel's going to be interested in her.
Right.
Which is just a horrible thing to describe.
Yeah.
Because she looks
Right.
like, I don't know, 15?
Yeah. But she's got to be older than that, right?
She's got to be older than that. In fact, maybe she looks a little bit even younger than... Maybe
Yeah,
she's
she looks like
14.
13.
She could probably pass for it. An old 13, yeah.
Yeah. Stelly looks older than her.
Yes.
So,
Which is my barometer for how old people should look.
yeah. Yes.
I, for example, am older than Stelly
You are.
because I look older than her.
Yes. You're also older than a lot of other people in the family.
Yeah, well, no need to rub it in.
I'm just happy that there's movement here. I'm just happy that this story is moving.
Well, there's movement of a sort, but there's also parts of this that feel like they're just stuck. Are we forgetting about Nathan? Nathan was arrested.
Yeah, and Nathan's in prison now again.
No, he's not in prison. He hasn't had a trial. He hasn't had anything. He's
but he's being held.
on false evidence.
Right. Yeah, we'll get back to it eventually. You can't have everything tied in a bow.
Well, no, of course you can't. And maybe this is just because we've been missing so many episodes recently. It feels like that was the start of June. And it feels like we haven't had much in the way of that since then. So, like, in a month, there's no progression in that storyline.
Well, I don't think there can be progression until the real killer is caught. Because everybody assumes Nathan did it. And there's no way to prove that he didn't do it because there's evidence that he did do it.
But
Granted, some of that is planted, but nobody is going to know that until the real killer is caught. So we have to progress the whole Joel thing now so that he can get caught, and then Nathan will be exonerated.
Because Nathan has said to his new lawyer, the lawyer that is now going to listen to him, as opposed to the lawyer that says, no, you should just admit to murder and go to prison like a good boy. His new lawyer isn't taking that. And there's an allegation against Sarah for planting evidence in a van.
Yeah, but there's no proof of that.
She's not even been questioned about it.
No. And I don't think the police have any interest in questioning her about it. I mean, let's remember how long Roy was being held with even thinner evidence than this, with even more circumstantial evidence.
Well, apart from
than
the fact
this.
that his DNA was found all over the flat.
Well, it wasn't all over. It was on one condom wrapper. That's the only bit of DNA of Roy's that they found.
And he admitted that he was cleaning the place out whilst wearing plastic gloves.
Right. But
you look at it,
there's also Evelyn saying he did this because I asked him to. He did not volunteer to do this. He did this because I asked him to. This isn't something that Roy just did without reason. So I don't really care. I don't really care about Nathan right now. That's not like the important part of the story. That doesn't need to be furthered at the moment. It's not important.
Well, it is important because it masks who the real crook is.
But we aren't going to find out that it's masking who the real crook is until the real crook is caught. So that's the important part of the story right now, is to watch Joel mess up and get caught. Because nobody is going to care about Nathan and think that he didn't do it until then. New lawyer or no new lawyer. Because...
And I find that unbelievable.
Well, again, Roy had a lawyer who was fighting very hard for him and still couldn't get him out, even though there was very, very little evidence that he could have possibly done this. So if it took forever for Roy to prove his innocence, imagine how difficult it's going to be to prove Nathan's innocence when Nathan has a proven record of doing this sort of thing.
Well, then you should very much prepare for having this conversation every week. Let's move on then to our next storyline, which is Where There's a Will. At Nina's Rolls, Michael and Glenda are arguing about ketchup on beans and crisp butties, and that brings us on to this week's hard debate. Not pressed that button in a while. Ketchup on beans, Helen?
No.
Or brown sauce?
Brown sauce. But not brown sauce on the beans, brown sauce on your pie, and then a little bit of brown sauce will dribble up on your beans.
Where's the pie coming from here?
Because if you're having beans, then you're obviously also having a pie, right?
No.
That's how we eat them. We eat them with a pie.
We eat them with sausage rolls is how we eat them.
Which is...
Don't say a sausage roll is a pie.
Sausage roll is a pie.
Or this marriage is over.
A sausage roll is meat in pastry. It's a pie.
It's not a pie.
It's a pie.
It's not a pie.
It's a pie.
It isn't a fucking pie.
It is.
Anyway. Our
Also, I don't like the sausage rolls that you get. I like it better when you make them.
Which is why I started making them again.
Yeah.
So shut up. So our voting several have had the choices of ketchup, brown sauce, or what is wrong with you? Ketchup got 21% of the vote.
Really?
Brown sauce got 28% of the vote.
Well, of course.
But storming home with 51% of the vote was, what is wrong with you? Putting ketchup on beans or any sauce on beans. I have to say, a little bit of brown sauce on beans is delicious. And it's no different than putting a wee splash of Worcester sauce in.
Right.
Very, very nice.
And again, it's kind of accidental because you've put brown sauce on whatever it is you're eating the beans with.
So, George comes in with another olive branch for Glenda. They may be bound for court, but he wants to be civil and he apologises to Michael for the other week. He also suggests that he goes for a drink with Michael, but Glenda knocks that back because she's gone out with him. Michael, though, thought it was a good idea.
And George reveals that Glenda dips her French fries in her milkshake.
Yeah.
Which is a very American thing to do. That's a very American thing. Especially at McDonald's. You go to McDonald's, you get your fries, you get your milkshake if the ice cream machine is working.
Which it never is.
And then you dip your fries
That's
in
a
the
little
milkshake.
bit of observational comedy there.
You
talking
get
about the ice cream machine at the McDonald's.
You get a little bit of salty with your sweet. It's like dumping your bag of M&Ms in with your popcorn at the movie theater. A little bit of salty, a little bit of sweet. Or chocolate-covered potato chips.
Oh!
Which are divine. Or they were divine at certain points of the month for me back in the day.
Oh. America, you get the diabetes you deserve.
Oh, that's rich talk coming from the man whose country deep fat fries Twinkies and Milky Ways.
As a dessert. And that's no different from having any kind of pastry with your dessert.
Who deep fat fries pastry? Scottish people. And McDonald's. Although I don't even know if McDonald's still makes those pies.
I have no idea.
No, me neither.
So anyway, Michael and George end up having a cheeky wee meal at the bistro and they chat about squid species, and they seem to be getting on quite well. George likes Michael and regrets how he's handled the situation with Glenda and hopes that Michael might be able to convince her to drop the case. In the pub, Michael explains what happened and Glenda thinks George has got under his skin. Michael looks like he's getting pretty fucking sick of this. He doesn't want to be any part of this.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be in between the two of them at all. And they've both put him in between.
On Friday, Michael meets Glenda on the street. He has a lunch date in another storyline, so has to dingy her, but he's looking happy enough until Glenda brings up the subject of George again. He's uneasy about it and doesn't think any of this is worth losing family for. She goes to see George and wants to put an end to all this feuding and the fussing. She just wants her fair share, and George agrees. She doesn't want the Undertakers, and George is relieved, so she'll take his house instead, and George is fucking furious.
Which why?
Even
You're
though he
not
admits
living in it.
that he doesn't live there. But he says, oh well, the house is worth more than the Undertakers. Well fine, I'll take the Undertakers then.
Right.
But choose.
Yeah.
You want to be fair.
Right.
She's making a suggestion.
Yeah.
That to you is not fair. Well,
Yeah.
what is your suggestion then?
Right. Yeah. Make a suggestion. Don't just completely shut down and call her ridiculous.
Or was it the 20 grand? Was it the 20 grand that he gave her?
20 grand is
So that
not
house
enough.
is worth £40,000 then?
The 20 grand is not enough. And he should know that. And she rightly says, when he says, well, the house is worth more than the business, then you're not really running your business very well, because that business should be worth more than a house.
How does Undertakers not make money?
People are always dying.
Exactly. So George wants Glenda to have her fair share so long as none of it is taken from him.
Which is ridiculous.
He goes off to deal with a client, which allows Glenda to nick his keys. Later, Mary drags George back to Eileen's house, which is now full of George's old shit, including a lovely portrait of Archie Shuttleworth. George doesn't know what Glenda's playing at. She wants her half, that's what she's playing at. Not only that, she's changed the locks in the house. In the pub, Glenda tells George that he had no intention of honouring their dad's wishes. Michael comes in, hears them rowing, and has had about enough of this. Why do you want to change her, Michael?
Seriously. I thought that her fieriness was one of the things that attracted you to her.
But he tells her that she's dumped because she stole George's massive house. Glenda needs to get some fucking satisfaction from George, so sadly has to bid Michael adieu.
Yeah.
And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yeah.
George has been an absolute arsehole here.
He's such a tit.
And if he's sticking his heels in for all these little parts of his life
Right.
that have just lovely fallen into place thanks to a different will that his dad wrote.
Right.
If he's digging his heels in on this, then what should happen is we sell everything.
Right.
And split it down the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And still I'm waiting to hear any suggestion from him on how they resolve this that isn't,
Right.
here's 20 grand, now shut up.
Right. Yeah. Because 20 grand is not enough. That's not half of everything. That's not even close to half of everything. And for him to dig his heels in about that stupid house that he doesn't live in is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And there's no way that thing that Mary picked up was bronze, because she picked it up far too easily for it to have been bronze. If it was bronze, it would have been maybe too heavy for Mary to pick up. I speak as someone who has sold a bronze sculpture once or twice in my life. They need to add weight to these things. It's kind of ridiculous.
Hey, until they do coffee cups, I'm afraid you're going to just have to fucking wait for bronze statues.
And also, what is that portrait of Archie painted with?
Oh, no, shush. That looked wonderful. I loved it.
It looked wonderful until they did a close-up.
And that was even better.
And then it looked like it was printed on cloth. or something?
Canvas.
No, it did not look painted on canvas.
It looked beautiful. Good old Roy Hudd.
But yeah, I mean, he keeps saying that he wants to bury the hatchet, but he wants to bury the hatchet in a way that means he doesn't lose anything.
Yeah, it costs him nothing. Yeah.
And it's really kind of it's a great metaphor, isn't it, for the way cis white men of a certain age just deal with women anyway and deal with feminism anyway. Sure, you can have, you can have whatever, but you can't take it from me.
Yeah.
And everything you get is taken from me.
I'm reminded of the words of the poet William Axel Rose, who once wrote in his epic Welcome to the Jungle, "You can have anything you want, but you better not take it from me."
Right. Yes. Well put.
It was nice, though, to get a little mention of Mike Baldwin, who I guess you don't know.
I guess not.
The owner of the factory for decades and had an affair with Deirdre, who my gran saw Johnny Briggs, the actor who played Mike Baldwin, walking through the Winter Gardens of Blackpool, and ushered me away from him because that was the scumbag who'd stolen Deirdre from Ken.
All right, so he didn't run away from you and not buy linens like
that's
Susanna York.
Susanna York was the one who did that. If Susanna York's run away from any of you, dear listeners, please write in to tell us about it. thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com.
Yes,
I think she's dead now.
And if you want the full Susanna York running away from Gav,
There's not much more to it.
Listen to the list of lists, specifically the episode on Tom Jones.
Here we go. The only thing that is still concerning me about all this is that nobody is really sure what Archie's final wishes were. We have the will that was executed, and then we have the will that was found later with a smudged date. And we don't know which one is supersedes which. And I really hope this isn't what happens, but with the amount of fuss that's been made about this, I just hope that the smudge dated will isn't proved to be the earlier one.
Surely there's a lawyer's office somewhere that has documentation.
Like a copy of it. Yeah, maybe there's a copy of this will.
Right. Surely somebody somewhere was around when Archie was writing this will.
Mm-hmm. And witnessed it.
Right.
We'll never know. Okay, our final storyline tonight is the curse of the curse of the Winter Browns. On Monday, Carys has lost her shoes ahead of a school trip to the library. Joseph announces that a couple of other pals might come round later for Ches burgers. Ches reckons that he can spread the mince, but not like that. Later, Bernie brings a bacon butty over, and she finds out that Gemma's got a parking ticket that she can't afford. More misery heaped upon them. Bernie promises that they'll find a way to pay the fine, but Gemma worries that folk are right. They have got too many kids. Still, at least they've got a massive refrigerator in their living room.
Right, and it's not like they can take some of those kids back.
But then Gemma gets a call from the school about Carys' shoes. Apparently, they're too shit for the library, so Gemma has to go to the shoe shop. And she ends up stealing a pair of shoes because the ones that she sees are not in the sale, and she sees lots of other kids getting shoes, and she thinks, fuck this.
Right, well, and let's be honest. In reality, someone in Gemma's position would have never been in that shoe shop to begin with. She would be at the charity shop in the precinct. Mm-hmm. You know, and there's a big to-do made from the fact that they're measuring this child's feet supposedly for the first time.
Yeah, Carys has got clown feet.
Because, steady on, pal, you're married to someone with wide feet. And if you don't want those feet up your arse, you'll chill over there.
You have got wide feet.
That's why you married me.
sugar on this table.
But yes, I have wide feet that are difficult to find shoes for, and I find stuff at the Goodwill and estate sales and stuff all the time that fit me.
You're not
and
4.
they're fine. Yeah, 4 is even easier because kids are always growing out of things. And also, you can go to one of those shops and get measured anytime for free. You don't have to buy shoes in order to get your feet measured. And also, grocery stores tend to have those little things that you can measure your feet with.
I don't think they're
the shoes.
They're the sophisticated ones that do the width and the length. I haven't seen any of them in any supermarkets.
It's just a plank of metal that goes this way and this way.
Oh,
it's not sophisticated at all.
Well, see, the way that I did it when I was a kid was we went to Goldberg's in Falkirk, and it was a very sophisticated thing. It was a machine that you put your foot into.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, it was great fun. I loved getting my feet measured.
It's a plank of metal that's shaped like a maxi pad that measures the width and the length of your foot. A maxi pad with wings. You put your heel against the heel part.
You don't have to explain how you measure feet. I know.
And it goes like this. And the show is acting like it's something that is beyond the poor to be able to do, to measure their children's feet.
No, she's saying that they don't have this machine at the supermarket, and that's quite believable. And the only place that she goes to get shoes is the supermarket because they're cheap.
They have them at Meijer. I'm sure they have them at your supermarket.
Well, great. Then she can come to Meijer and get.
Yes, yes, she can.
But until then,
although
she's
they're
stuck
pretty
in
expensive
Manchester.
there too. But just this whole thing, and the fact that she doesn't know which shoes are on sale and which ones aren't, and the fact that she doesn't discuss this with the woman beforehand, and the fact that she promises this child any shoes in the store she wants.
Yeah, Gemma shouldn't be making any promises to this kid.
None of this is something that somebody who has a very, very limited amount of money to take care of this would do. But it's done because we must further on the poverty porn of this family, and it's redonkulous.
But she shouldn't be making promises to Carys, especially when it doesn't look like Carys has the faintest idea where she is.
She does speak.
No, she doesn't.
She does. She does speak once.
But she doesn't.
She does.
No, she doesn't.
She does. Back at the house. She says it hurts when she's trying to put those shoes that are too small on her. And then apparently it does hurt because she has huge, massive blisters on her poor wee feet, which is why she has to get picked up from the library.
When Gemma gets home, Bernie has some cash to put towards the parking fine and quickly notices, wait a minute, Carys is wearing fancy new sandals, and they're lovely wee sandals. They've got wee flowers on them.
They're Mary Jane's.
Bernie reckons that Gemma could get the jail for this. And as Gemma has a fit, Joseph and his 3 pals come in for their fucking cheeseburgers, making Gemma jump out of her skin because she's worried that there's going to be the shoe police. Guilted by her mum, Gemma takes the shoes back to the shop, but she gets spotted by the assistant and the manager, so she just drops them and runs. Back home, Chesney has bought kebabs home for dinner instead of cheeseburgers.
Yeah, we have money for kebabs, but not for shoes.
Nobody's paying any money for those kebabs. Chesney has stolen them from work.
Yes.
Joseph is embarrassed, but his pals think the kebabs are wicked, and on top of that, he's got Asha's old shoes for Carys. He's smashing parenting today, until he learns from Bernie that Gemma robbed a pair of shoes today, and this knocks the wind out of his sails. Later, when one of the boys' dads comes to pick him up, it turns out that he's the shoe shop manager. How very fucking hell.
Yeah.
The boys catch wind that Gemma stole shoes. Joseph practically is embarrassed to death as the shop manager promises to grass her up to the cops.
Right, yeah, what sort of asshole does that? What sort of asshole goes to pick up his kid from his kid's friend's house, realizes that the woman at the door is someone who has stolen shoes from his shop, but has also brought them back, and then says loudly in front of his son that you're going to press charges against her for stealing shoes, instead of saying, can we talk outside quietly for a minute?
this is a man who instructs his child to go outside into the Audi A6.
Yeah.
That's the sort of man.
I'm surprised he's not driving around in a Cybertruck.
That man's got BMW written all over him, that's all I'm saying. On Friday, Joseph is not in a good mood and basically tells Gemma and Chesney to suck his balls. All his mates have ghosted him, and Ches saying, well, they're not your real mates then, isn't cutting any cheese. Chesney doesn't think Gemma's in any danger of being arrested when the police arrive and arrest her. Ches runs around to Nina's Rolls to tell Bernie, who reckons that because Gemma has form for this, she'll likely get the jail. At the cop shop, she's locked up while a duty solicitor is being called for, and Kit sees this and shows some concern. He goes to see Gemma and hears the story of the stolen shoes and shows some concern. If she hadn't tried to return them, she says, she'd have gotten away with it. And she mentions how she only did it because her daughter's feet were sore in her old shoes, and Kit seems moved. He goes to Nina's Rolls, but is about to walk out when he sees Bernie. She asks him to do his sister a favour to get her off this charge, and he agrees, so long as Bernie never bothers him again. It's a deal. So Kit goes to the shoe shop, speaks to Ollie's dad, and tells him to drop the charges, or he'll be forced to look into some of the more dodgier dealings that his dad's been getting up to. Aye.
So
Who knows what that's all about?
seriously. I mean, let's not forget, this is a shoe shop manager, drives an Audi.
Al Bundy never drove no Audi.
Do you think maybe he owns the place
Yeah,
as
maybe
well?
he's the owner. Yeah. So the beginning of this is spotted by PC Tinker, so Kit basically kicks him out of the shop and sends him, was it to a lingerie shop? Just to embarrass him? I think so.
Some sort of women's shop down the street. See if they have had any
Right.
any issues as well.
It's just, get out of my fucking face, Tinks.
Right, yeah. Which is hilarious.
Back at the station, Gemma is about to be charged until Kit shows up and says, hold on, the charges have been dropped.
And
Gemma's
her
free to
lawyer
go.
is so useless there.
Yeah, he's absolutely
he says
silent.
nothing.
No. Tinker sees Gemma leave and realises, this is who was about to get done for the shoe thing. And he confirms to Kit that Gemma's a good sort, just down on her luck. Craig is glad that he's not them. Yeah, you're not a million miles above them. But anyway.
Yeah, you're just lucky that your girlfriend went into menopause really early, so you don't have 5 children.
Right.
Can you imagine Faye and Craig with 5 children?
5 wee Tinkers running that. No.
5 gingers just falling all over themselves.
Is that how it goes genetically?
Who is Faye related to?
Gary.
All right, so yes, very much so. They will be ginger because they're getting ginger from both sides.
Back on the street, Kit finds Gemma on Maxine's bench. The two of them get chatting, and Gemma thinks Kit is the weirdest copper she's ever met and reckons that he must have had a hand in her getting out without any charges, and Kit couldn't possibly comment. Gemma can't understand why Kit is on her side, and he's about to spill, or he looks like he's about to spill, but then says that she was due a break. Gemma invites him home for a drink to say thank you and to have a good old stare at the enormous living room refrigerator. Kit is the tallest thing any of the quads I've ever seen. And he makes instant friends with Alad, and it's just lovely.
It is lovely.
Kit, though, has been dinging calls all day and finally answers one of them. It was his dad to tell him that his mum's dead. Thanks, Dad. So Kit's about to leave when Bernie comes in with beers looking to celebrate. And oops, so outside in private, Bernie offers her ear if Kit needs someone to talk to about his mum, but Kit reckons that he should have been with his mum instead of helping her dodgy family out. Quickly, he apologises and says that life's too short. He wants to get to know Paul and Gemma and plans to tell them tomorrow that he's their brother. But as he walks to the car, while Bernie's smiling, Kit does a 2-second smile fade.
He does.
And that's how we end this week's episodes.
And it doesn't fade into a frown. It kind of fades into a sneer.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, we know that he's a kind of dodgy copper because of the whole Sarah thing.
Right. Still waiting for that to happen.
So he's not this superior, the plaudits that Gemma's putting on him are maybe a little bit unearned. And here he is doing something a little bit dodgy again to get her off this charge. So it's not inconceivable that he has some ulterior motive here, but it
Yes.
just seemed to me that he wants to destroy Bernie. That's all he seems to be interested in.
Yeah. And it kind of feels like he thinks that being honest with the twins about what happened will diminish Bernie in their eyes.
Right.
Little does he know, Bernie has done an awful lot in her life already to diminish herself in the eyes of the twins.
Yeah.
So this is just going to be one more thing in the pile of stuff that they've forgiven her for.
The only thing is, in the condition that Paul's in,
Right.
which I think we're both of the opinion that
Not long.
he doesn't need to be starting to read any long books at the moment
Correct.
or buying any green bananas.
No.
You wouldn't want him to leave this earth angry at his mum.
Yeah, and I don't think he would be.
Because that would destroy Bernie.
Yes.
So there is a potentially, but what part of this story? I mean, she kept a child secret for 31 years.
Yes.
I guess that is a big deal. I mean, you can look at it two ways, I guess, right? It's like, oh, here's a brother that I never knew I had. Or it's like, what the fuck, Mum? I've got a brother that I never knew I had.
I was 12 when I found out that I had big brothers. I wasn't mad at my mom. I was happy that I had big brothers.
Right. So that's the kind of the positive way it could go.
Right. Yeah. And I was 12. And I mean, Gemma is maybe not the most mature person on the planet.
But I can
For
see
her
her being
age.
happy about this.
No, well, this is what I'm saying. If I at 12 years old was happy and accepting, a more mature person, one would think, would be even more happy and accepting and not angry about it. Especially if it's kind of explained. You know, like I didn't have a choice. There was no way I could afford having 3 children. So I think they might be upset finding out that Kit has a different dad. I mean, obviously he has a different dad. Look at him.
Look up at him. But I don't even know that they know what their mum's like.
They do. They do. I don't feel like this is going to go Kit's way.
Gemma, I think, is happy about it because of the good things that he's done for her.
Yes.
And the selfless way that he's done that, I think, is endearing as far as she's concerned.
Right.
Which means that Paul's going to be against it.
But he helped Paul out as well. Let's not forget.
That's true.
He helped Paul out with the whole parking space and everything. So both of them have something to appreciate Kit for. I don't think either one of them. And I don't feel like Paul at this point has the energy to be mad or angry at anyone but Billy. And that's because he's got this underlying anger for Billy anyway.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
But there is potential here in the remaining, I guess, weeks and months, or maybe weeks that Paul has left, that the 3 of them can become quite close with each other.
Which will be
Is
nice.
I'm just trying to figure out a way that this can go wrong, because the way that he looked at the end suggests that there is something negative coming out of this.
Right.
But even if the 3 of them become close, it doesn't seem that would be something that would
Destroy.
to hurt Bernie at all.
No.
Because it's not as if she's going to get pushed out by this.
No, and that's the thing. I kind of feel like in Kit's mind, that's a possibility. But because we know better, we know that's not a possibility. It feels like he's going to attempt to create a wedge, but it's not going to work. And I don't know how he is going to react to that.
But I guess it all depends on how he sells it to them.
Right.
And maybe that's not truthful.
But even if it's not truthful, I can't imagine a way to sell this where they're not like, oh, that's just Mum. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't disagree. It's just, you just worry what's, because of who that is, right? Because of the curse of the Winter Browns, that Kit's in their house for 5 minutes and his mum dies. You know,
His mum was dead before he entered that house.
no, it's Schrodinger's dead mum. But there has to be more misery thrown upon them, and nothing good can possibly happen without something 10 times worse happening in the back of it. So, I don't know. I think there is, there's certainly maybe a little cause for concern as to how this plays out in the coming episodes. But it really was just lovely to see Kit, who's a guy who I can't help but like, despite all the things that are going around him that aren't really likable.
No, yeah.
He's still very likable.
He's kind of a scamp. It's like the things that he does that are kind of naughty, like, you know, leaning on that shoe shop owner about bad stuff that we don't know about, but he does, that the shoe shop owner has done. And it's like, how is he finding this sort of thing out?
Yeah.
If the police haven't arrested this guy yet.
He does a little snooping and finds a few things out.
Yeah. But that he does it for the right reasons. You know? Like the whole planting evidence in the back of Nathan's van. It feels like he did that for the right reasons.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think he's in cahoots with Joel.
No, I don't
example.
think that either. No.
And he was adorable with the kids.
That's what I was going to
He
say.
was
It's just
so
such a
cute.
beautiful wee scene.
He's so massive and he gets down on their level. You know?
Yes.
And it's so cute.
And he seems to, I don't know, find a connection with Alad almost immediately because we can't remember the names of the other ones. But when Gemma's signing stuff and he shows his police badge to them and stuff, it's like, oh, and Gemma's face as well.
Right.
It's just,
Very
was just
cute.
a
It was
lovely,
very cute.
beautiful wee scene.
I liked it.
And actually, the conversation that the two of them had out on Maxine's bench was really lovely as well.
Yeah, it was nice.
Oh, well. I guess that was the week that was Coronation Street.
Yes, it was.
Helen, tell me, what was your moment of the week?
I've got to say, Kit with the quads.
Kit Quads.
Kit quads.
Kit Quad Squad. That's our...
Moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
Yeah, it just was a lovely...
Yeah, it was wholesome.
And how nice to see smiles in that house for a change.
Yes.
Conversely, Helen, though, tell me, what was your boring moment of the week?
Steve's shirt.
That became sad that he bought it for Tracy, even though he wouldn't admit it.
We don't have Ken or Daniel to fall back on this
I know.
week.
Is it Craig maybe getting sent to the...
No, because that was hilarious. That was very funny. I enjoyed that.
Was it Joel's dad's speech? That was a terrible speech.
Was it Dee Dee showing clothes to Ed?
That was quite dull.
Yeah, because we've seen that before. Like every time she has something important about to happen, she's got somebody in there to give their opinions on her clothes.
And she always dresses impeccably. I don't know why she asks anybody anything.
Right, especially Ed.
She has a good enough eye.
Yes.
All right, that's our...
Boring moment of the week.
Now, I didn't ask our Twitter followers what they thought of Coronation Street this week because we were in the middle of Canada at the time.
You were.
So we'll just have to take it as read that they all hated it. But what was your score out of 10?
You know, it's tough because there were only 2 episodes. So, I mean, there was nothing that I actively hated. There was nothing that I actively hated.
Promising.
So, 5.5.
I'd give this a 7. I quite enjoyed it this week.
Oh,
A lot of what happened was on the cheerier side of it.
Right.
And I quite appreciated that. So yeah, I'm going to give it 7 out of 10 this week.
sounds good.
All right, let's wrap this one up then.
Yes, please. I need to get out of my jammies.
This episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast, Daisy, French Helen, Pickles, DT, Trisha, Wendy, Noel, Canadian Helen, Christy, Shandy, English Victoria, Aurora Yvonne, Heather Westerfield, Russell Whiting, Jackie B and Brittany Porter. Thank you so much, everybody.
Oof.
We really appreciate it.
We are so loved.
If you've ever looked forward to getting your shoes measured at a fancy shop, write in to tell us about it. We're the talkofthestreet@gmail.com, and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/thetalkofthestreet, or patreon.com/thetalkofthestreet. Check out voggle.co.uk for links to a merch store, YouTube channel and blog. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. And be sure to check out our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists.
We didn't do one this week.
Thanks for making it to the end of another episode. And we will be back next week with more
Talk of the Street.
The Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.